Welcome, all fellow wannabes. Welcome to the show. You are listening to The Midnight Run from Wannabe Critic Productions, aka just two of the hosts from, the Wannabe Critic podcast, just kind of doing their own thing. But now, as you can see, audio listeners, you can't see it right now, but video listeners, if you're watching, we are in fact starting a new series, and we have a new host joining us along on this thing. We have Rex Tucker, as I mentioned before, but we also have Rex's sister, Cami. Cami, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. Excited to be here.
Good. We're excited to have you here because this is totally the first time you've been on the show. You've never been on the show before, right?
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding. We'll get back to that in a second, but you want to throw it to Rex really fast. Old Rexy himself. Rex, how are you feeling, bro?
Feeling good. A little tired, but I'll hang in there.
Well, you better get some pep in your step. We got to get hyped, son. You got to get stinking hyped.
I need some caffeine or something.
You need some of that. You need some of that sweet rays. Is what you need.
Send me some.
I sure can, especially at a discount too, because I can use the code _wannabe_critic to get 15% off of your entire order. But that's neither here nor there. I am excited that you're here, though, that we're finally talking about this. And I hope that you get a little more enthused. But if you don't, no hard feelings. So.
No, I definitely will for this show because it's been like a month waiting to do this show, and I've been just waiting to see your reaction and kind of just see what you thought about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. And I think shout out to you. I mentioned before, that this is totally Cami's first time being on the show. And in actuality, we actually have already started the next project for the Midnight Run, which is in fact My Hero Academia. So Cami joined us on that first episode. We've already kind of gotten us started, but Rex brought something to my attention because he's a good co-host, and he said, hey, season 2 of The Promised Neverland is coming out week by week, and it might be beneficial to talk about that in some way, shape, or form. So we put My Hero on hold. Here we are talking about The Promised Neverland, and what great timing, because the first episode of season 2 just dropped last week and is now become I think it comes out week to week, right, Kimmy?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Subbed at least.
Okay, at least subbed. So, if you want to catch our thoughts, what we're probably going to do is every couple of weeks, every 2 or 3 weeks, probably get together for the second season and kind of recap our thoughts, as to what's happened. And, because I'm invested at this point. It really did the anime thing. I love how a lot of anime nowadays, you have a solid 17 minutes of content, and then the bumpers at the front and the end are 4 minutes. So the episode's 22 minutes, but in actuality, it's only 17 minutes. So you can just keep going. You just can blast through it really fast. Because as of yesterday, I was on episode 2 of season 1 or episode 4 of season 1. And then I just finished it all that evening. So, I just couldn't stop. It got to a certain point and I couldn't stop. But I am looking forward to getting into the meat of that discussion. I did mention, in fact, Raise Energy. If you want to check out more details about that, go down in the description, as well as Pop Cult USA. They send us dope, nerdy threads. Pop Cult truly blesses us, or blesses me at least. I don't think they haven't sent. I can't get them to send the rest of the crew anything as of right now, but maybe someday. We'll see. Before we get into it, though, I wanted to ask Rex. Rex, you said you're tired, but what can you give us a brief summation of what your life's been like the past few months?
Very busy. We just found a place that we're going to be renting, so we'll be moving pretty soon. So just been doing that. It's been I've actually been getting into an old card game that's discontinued now, called Android Netrunner, and it's got a cyberpunk theme to it, and I found a website I could play it online with my friends. So I've been doing a little bit of that, a little bit of gaming here and there.
Nice. Well, I mean, any gaming escapades you'd like to recap on the show?
See, just keeping it, the usual, the Rocket League, Animal Crossings, stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice. It's just chill, chill over there, except for Rocket League. I can't get into that game. It's not for me, but I do love Animal Crossing. and I did roll credits on Animal Crossing the other day, in fact. So, because you do have a main objective in that game, right? You want to get KK Sliders to come play a show. That's the main objective. And when you do that, that's when the credits roll. But there's still a lot to be done. But it still was one of those things like 90 hours in or something like that. I got it in March. Whenever I rolled credits, I felt the sense of accomplishment. It was cool.
That's pretty cool.
Game of the year 2020 for sure for me. I'm dead serious. I'm not even joking. Like that's
No, I mean
for sure.
It's like the quarantine game,
Yeah, and I think, I feel like it does kind of like the Pokemon Sword and Shield thing where people who love Animal Crossing, I don't think, who are like Animal Crossing purists, like I don't think they actually really love Animal Crossing New Horizons as much as the old one. But I'm playing the Pocket Camp on my phone, and really New Horizons feels like just a bigger version of Pocket Camp in a lot of ways, but with little limitations. But that's cool, man. That's cool to hear that you're keeping up with you can't be a part of this podcast and not play video games. So,
yeah, it's been a little less lately, more work and, getting ready to move and stuff. So
yeah, well, I hope your gaming time can increase, but enough about you. Cami, what's been up with you since the last time we spoke? What have you been playing? Have you been working on your Animal Crossing island? Like what's new in your world?
I've never played Animal Crossing before.
Really?
Yeah. I'm kind of like, if the new game comes out, I play it, and then I like stop playing games for a while, and then I go back into it, and then I stop. It's like a back and
what's
forth.
the last game you played?
Maybe like Jedi Fallen Order. Oh, no. Sorry, the Squadrons. I played that.
Oh, you played.
Yeah. We hooked up on Squadrons a few times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did that game kind of fall off for you guys a little bit? I bought it on sale digitally, and I still haven't played through it. I haven't played through Jedi Fallen Order yet either.
I haven't played through Squadrons yet, but I did play Jedi Fallen Order all the way through.
Are you a Souls fan like Rex over here?
A what? What is it?
Like Soulsborne, whatever they call it, like that style of combat, like Dark Souls and all that stuff.
No, I like short games.
So like what's your optimal gaming experience? Like whenever you say short games, are you talking like indie or?
Yeah, I like indie games.
Okay, cool. Okay. Have you played, just out of curiosity, have you played any of the super giant games like Bastion, Pyre, Transistor, Hades? Have you played any of those? So like what has like been like kind of what's like your top tier like favorite short indie game you think you ever played?
Well, I like the Little Nightmares game.
Oh, were you the one that requested for us to play that game? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that was me.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're still doing that. That's still definitely going to happen. I've been thinking about maybe even doing a let's play along with our review. So like maybe getting a let's play ready type thing, and then kind of coupling that, with our review in February type of thing, because we got some let's plays rolling out in February. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But so Little Nightmares. So are you like into the horror genre or?
Yeah.
Okay, so you like
I like the creepy. That's why I was drawn to the show.
That makes a lot of sense actually, because there was like several episodes where I was like, oh my god, like this is messed up.
Yeah.
It's kind of an unsettling feeling, that Promised Neverland brings to the table. But
what about Among Us? You've been playing some Among Us.
Oh yeah, on the phone. I've been playing that with some friends. But I also really like Legend of Zelda. Like those games too.
Are you a fan of Breath of the Wild?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm playing through that right now. Kind of like as a side project type thing. Like that's kind of the first Let's Plays that I'm really doing is Breath of the Wild, because I didn't like the game the first time I played it. And it's been interesting to kind of visit it, 3 years later, and kind of see some new things with it, and trying to give it a second chance. But
how far are you?
So I'm 4 or 5 hours into my second playthrough. So I've left the Great Plateau. I already went to go talk to Impa. I'm like basically going back and forth with that guy about the ancient technology and stuff, and like just kind of getting my feet wet. That game's got a long introduction. You know, I've recorded 7 Let's Plays at this point, all, you know, anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes each. And I'm like, I feel like they've just added so much artificial time into this game to where, you know, just little things that I'm noticing. I am enjoying it more than the first time I played it, but little things that I'm noticing, it's like, okay, if you're going to put a fast travel mechanic in, why do you limit it to just the towers? I don't understand that. Like if you're going to put a fast travel mechanic in, I should be able to travel right to the town, right? I mean, this is 2017 at this point. I should be able to just drop right in there if the mechanic's there. So it's like, so you're telling me I have to take an extra 5-6 minutes to get to this other place that's right. I don't know. It's like, it just kind of, small things are starting to add up, and it's kind of reminding me of why I didn't like the game in the first place, because it feels anti-intuitive in a lot of ways. But you know, I'm enjoying it. The pluses are far outweighing the negatives for me, you know, in a lot of ways right now with the second playthrough. So, you know, to answer your question, go ahead.
That made me think of like something I've been thinking about lately in games like that. So we know Zelda is like it's a newer game. And you compare it to the old games, and there's a lot of benefit, a lot of new ideas that have been done with games, such as fast traveling. So with games going forward, like, should those things be included where it's like, you know, it lets you do something that they never really thought of in the past, but or do they like take it away to benefit the game and the story? Like, where's the balance, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I agree with what you're saying. You know, I think about a game like Red Dead, right, where I never fast traveled because I genuinely enjoyed being in that world. Death Stranding, absolutely not. Never fast traveled. I just genuinely enjoyed the vibe and the aesthetic of the world. And I understand that's what Breath of the Wild was trying to do. And really, they were kind of the first one to do it in this next, you know, wave of games that have come out the past, you know, towards the end, the last quarter of this generation, I guess, last 2 or 3 years. And like, for me, just in a lot of ways, Zelda just misses the mark, because yeah, it's one thing to put the fast travel in and make you explore and like make you kind of venture out and make it kind of harder to find things to do a little bit. But there is a balance, because yes, this is a war-torn world where you know, Calamity Ganon has like stripped everything, so it would make sense why it is so empty. That doesn't make it fun. Like, that doesn't make it always fun. You know what I mean? Like, I understand putting yourself in Link's position and like trying to help this thing, but me as a player who's expecting a Zelda-esque experience, you know, I think that was one of the biggest things for me, is there's not even really any music in the game. So I mean, you know, two of the biggest things I look forward to are characters and music in Zelda games, and it's pretty lackluster in those two huge, like, definitive Zelda areas, right? That being said, I don't know. To me, it kind of feels like whenever Assassin's Creed moved forward, but they didn't make Assassin's Creed. They made like a different game and then slapped Assassin's Creed on it. Like, it kind of feels like that in a lot of ways with this Breath of the Wild game, which is fine. I'm enjoying it. I just have to remind myself, like, this is new. This isn't really Zelda, you know, like, it is Zelda, but it's not, you know, it
needs some like super giant music.
Yeah, it needs something, you know, to do.
It does.
It needs something to go back to form, you know, and I'm hoping the sequel gives us more of that. So
it does feel a bit empty and quiet at times.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I gotta switch my camera out really quick or switch my battery out. Yeah, I mean, it in a lot of ways, I'm like having just a really, really good time. You know what I mean? But in a lot of ways, I'm missing the things. Okay, I guess this is the best way to put it. In a lot of ways, like, I'm having a great time, but in a lot of other ways, I'm missing the simplistic, like, kind of baseline, bare bones things that made the game, you know, the Zelda game's great in the beginning, you know, and it feels like in a lot of ways those core things are missing. So
yeah, I think, you know, it is a transitional game too. They're switching up the way it's being made and now trying to do more open world.
Yeah.
So hopefully the second time around, maybe they'll kind of iron out some of those details and make it a bit better.
Yeah, and I mean, just little things like, and I swear, ladies and gentlemen, the listeners, if you're wondering when we're going to get to the root of the discussion, we will get there at some point. The biggest thing I feel like the game is lacking is not only are all the enemies repetitive, right, but they're spread far and few and far between. It feels like there just isn't a lot of variety in enemies and enemy types, and it doesn't really feel like each area I go to is different, which is it's a negative for me. Each area should have its own kind of biome and feel and like its own specific enemies to that area. Whereas, when you go to the rock, the desert area, you go to the whatever area, it's just it's a Lizalfo or it's a Choo Choo or it's a whatever, and it's the same enemy type, but just reskinned, with different abilities, different elemental abilities. And I get why they want to keep it simple because they have like the blood moon effect and stuff like that. And there is a challenge to the game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, in Halo, we have been killing the same enemies for like the past 25 years at this point, or 20 years, and no one's ever complained really because it's fun. The game kind of wears off its charm a little bit for me, like with the enemies and stuff like that. So I don't know. I hope they innovate it, and I hope they add, like, I there's nothing that bothers me more whenever I go to a town and I see like a board, you know what I mean? Like where there should be side quests I can pick up, but there isn't. Like you put the board there in the town, but you didn't put anything in there. Like there's one thing to read. So yeah, I mean, I hope they innovate. I hope they take the criticisms and don't be Nintendo about it and like actually give people more of what they want. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, it felt like they were trying to do Skyrim, but Zelda, and they just missed the main points of an RPG, which is, building your character, having
choice,
various, having various enemies, a lot of that. So
and good characters. Like people talk about Skyrim all the time. It's like, oh, this combat's janky. It's like, yeah, but the motivations behind what you're doing and why you're doing said things have always made sense, and that's why you do it. Like, so there's that though. But there's your little mini, teaser for what you can expect in my Breath of the Wild Let's Plays. So, and it all came from Cami. We wouldn't even have this discussion had it not been for Cami. So Cami, welcome to the show.
Way to go, Cami.
Yeah, way to go. As I said before, we are reviewing Promised Neverland Season 1. I look forward to releasing our My Hero Academia reviews at some point. But for the time being, for the next few midnight runs, we are going to focus on the Promised Neverland. So as we do with all things, we like to give a brief synopsis. What we're going to do is we're going to give a brief synopsis of the story. We're going to go around the room and say, do we like this anime? Give, a little bit of a teaser. This is a spoiler review, so prepare yourselves. So there's going to be lots of spoilers, there's nothing safe. So if you're wanting to go into Promised Neverland blind, we'll let you know before we start spoiling stuff, but go ahead, Rex.
Which you should go into it blind, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, don't look up anything about the show.
At least the first episode.
Oh yeah, like it.
And also, if you can, like, watch it with the group. I had fun watching it with the group, like for the first time going in blind.
Yeah,
because it's scary.
Yeah, it is kind of scary. It does have that effect about it. And we're going to go into it. Now, with all things, we're going to talk about things that we loved, things that we weren't crazy about, and that old chestnut. So I am going to try and tackle the synopsis. Okay. So in not so many words, we have our three main characters. We have Ray, Norman, and Emma, right? And they are three young people, like they're 10 or 11 years old, something like that. And they're living in this house out in the country where they're being tested, like for various things. And they're among all these other younger kids, but they're the oldest out of the bunch. And they have the highest test scores out of anybody, and you're not really, go ahead.
The orphanage, right?
Yeah, it's an orphanage. It's an orphanage out in the middle of nowhere. And they're being tested. And, you get kind of a happy-go-lucky sense about the environment that they're in. All the kids have tattoos. They have numbers on their necks. And you don't really know what's going on. But shortly after this first episode, it started to make sense and was very clear to me exactly what was going on. But basically, you know, everyone's being tested. You're kind of getting to know some of the characters. There's this little cute girl. Her name's Bonnie, and that was her name, right? Connie, Bonnie, Connie,
Connie.
Bonnie. Yeah. So
Connie.
Connie.
Connie, yeah.
Connie. So by the end of the episode, you know, we're starting to kind of get to know Connie, and we come to realize that it's her turn to be adopted, and she's saying her goodbyes to everybody, and you know, she's trying to hold back the tears, right? And she had this cute little bunny that she, you know, kept with her at all times, and you know, Emma knew about it, you know, and Emma knew how much that bunny meant to her. So there is a someone watching over, you know, the entire orphanage, and they just call her Mom. Like that's her name is Mom. So you get kind of a, you know, it's a good feeling. It's a feel good first episode, right? Until things go horribly wrong. Connie leaves Bunny at the house. So naturally, Emma and Norman need to go give Connie, whatever her name is, the bunny, because they know exactly where she's going. There's a gate. Everyone knows where the gate is. But whenever they find Connie, you guessed it. you know where it's going. We are horrified to see that Connie
was not adopted.
She was not adopted, and we start to get a very grotesque idea of something that is happening at this orphanage. And basically Emma and Norman, they find themselves in a position where they need to be hiding because they found Connie and she's no longer alive. And now these grotesque monsters come out and are starting to talk to Mom and are communicating with Mom. And you realize that this isn't an orphanage. This is a farm. And they are farming children because there is a specific type of creature in the real world that is going to be eating these children, and they are monsters out in the real world eating these children, but they can only eat like different. That's a lot of, we still don't know a ton about these monsters, right? We just know they're out there in the world and they're kind of the big dogs of the world. And these farms, you know, in a lot of ways, it's like cattle, right? So there's a lot of things that we don't know about that whole situation. We just know that they're keeping these kids at these farms, these orphanages, to test them and see, you know, kind of what they're made of. And that the higher test scores they have, there's more value added to them as, you know, prospects, I guess. And that's really what you know, there's different tiers of monsters that are after different tiers of children, basically.
They eat their brains or something.
Yeah, as far as we know, we don't know a lot about it yet. You know, that's the biggest thing.
The brain is the highest quality.
Yeah,
right?
there you go. The brain is
tier.
Yeah.
And rewatching the first episode, it said that the rich get to eat them. Only the rich, they sell to the rich.
Yeah, the rich monsters. Yeah, it's super duper interesting. And you know, this is one of those things that I love about anime is the culture is just so much different, you know, with the way they tell their stories. And there is so much personification, right? And really it holds up a mirror to a story like this really holds up a mirror to our society. Because you think about us as humans, we eat animals, right? Or I do. I don't know. Cami, are you vegetarian?
No.
Oh,
okay.
That's my sister. Oh, that's your sister. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. Did you guys I guess we'll save it. We'll save like the philosophical discussion, the things that we thought about and the things that kind of triggered for us. But did I miss anything with the synopsis? I mean, I feel like there might be something that slipped through the cracks. Cami, you want to go ahead?
And then, so the whole anime is basically about the escape.
Yes. Yeah. So that's pretty much the entire thing is them trying to figure out a way to escape and outsmart Mom, because you realize Mom is, you know, in cahoots with the monsters.
I kind of got like an Ender's Game vibe to it, like with the kids being like super smart, and you know the mom is super smart, so they're trained to be, you know, top tier, so they have an advantage.
That's a really good comparison. You know, Ender's Game, super duper solid. And the thing that kind of struck me was just how smart Emma Ray and Norman are. So in each one of them have their weaknesses, and they're always pushing those limits and those weaknesses and things like that. But we're gonna get into it. Let's ask the question. Let's ask officially the question, and we'll start with Rex. With each question, we'll start with Rex because we're on Zoom. We got to keep things organized. So we'll start with Rex and then Cami, and then we'll just bounce like pinball, around each other. So Rex, do you like the Promised Neverland season 1?
Yes, I love it.
And Cami?
Love it.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to save our Wannabe's honest opinions scores, for the very end. I love this anime. There are a lot of things that the first season's nice and short. There isn't a ton going on. This isn't your typical, this was featured in Shonen Jump, but this isn't your typical shonen, in my opinion. This isn't your Naruto or your One Piece or your Dragon Ball or, your Full Metal or anything like that. This is very much a thriller of sorts, a psychological thriller. And it was kind of frustrating. Like I loved having the because did you guys watch it week to week? Either one of you? The first season?
No.
Okay. So for me, whenever I was watching this week to week, I wished I would have been able to watch it week to week, is what I'm trying to say. But I binged it, right? So there were times where I felt like there should have been more gravitas to an episode or more weight to it. And it was just kind of discouraging knowing that I could immediately get the answer. Like for instance, at one point in time, and this is about the time, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start getting into the spoilers. I mean, we kind of already spoiled the first episode for you, but from here on out, there is no quarter. You are subjected to spoilers. But so the episode, whenever Norman points at Ray and he's like, you're the spy, right? You are the one who's feeding mom information. I thought about that. And I was thinking, oh my God, this would have been so amazing to watch week to week, and for a moment like this, right?
Yeah.
But then, 5 minutes later, we come to realize, oh, he is a spy, but he's still a good guy, right? And in a way, it is kind of nice to not have to wait an entire week just to realize in the first 5 minutes of the next episode that it's actually not that big of a deal. But that's good television, and that's why animes, like for the most part, you don't see animes ever, even if the entire season's done. You never, ever, ever see them releasing anything out all at once. It doesn't happen. It never will. It doesn't matter how big the show is. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But to me, I don't know. I just found those little moments. It almost felt like just a giant, 2.5 hour long movie is kind of what it felt like in a lot of ways. Because I felt like there were episodes that were kind of just kind of filler-y. But the thing this show has going for it is there's not a lot to keep track of. There's 4 or 5 key components that you have to keep track of with the show. And I just love that aspect of it. So let's kind of go around the room. We'll start with Rex. Or kind of your high points of this first season.
My high points were, I really enjoyed the suspense that the show brought out and kind of created throughout the season. And I felt like it did it really well. And, to what you said, when you binge it, you do kind of get the instant gratification of finding out, things right away. So I do kind of agree with you about that. It's probably best to watch it week to week for sure. Because they really do build up a lot of suspense within the episodes. And so when you just watch the next episode right away, it takes away a little bit from that. But they do a good job, I think, with the creepy aspect of the show. With the other mom that comes in, I forgot her name.
Krona.
Krona, yeah. She was super creepy.
Dude. It was like the boy kind of. I mean, it scared me. I was like just her, her wide-eyed gaze, and just, man, and what they did with her arc was super interesting. And yeah, no, continue. I'm gonna piggyback off that in a little bit, but please continue.
Yeah, and the monsters, they look really creepy. Yeah, they just look really weird. I don't even know. They kind of look like aliens to me. And some of the high points were kind of centered around Norman and Ray for me. And they're kind of their interaction with each other, their dynamic of they're both super smart kids, and they're like trying to be one step ahead of everything, and they're going at it in two different ways of trying to escape. And the dynamic between them I thought was really cool to see. um, they're like outsmarting each other, and I feel like Norman kind of took the cake with that and kind of just planned everything and had this ultimate plan that at the end worked out, but so it was really the dynamics for me, like the character dynamics and how they work together, and the way the information in the show was revealed, I think, would probably be the high point for me, because they reveal it in a way that it's interesting. It keeps you guessing on some of the episodes, especially towards the end. You're always like guessing what's going to happen. And I really liked that about the show. So kind of like how it was, I guess, written, or how they did the anime.
Well, in a true feel, in a lot of ways, it feels like really good horror, because it's right in front of your nose the entire time, and they show you. They don't tell you. They're not telling you the details. They're showing you details. Yeah. And whenever I mean, in some ways, especially like with character expression and stuff, it reminded me of kind of like Attack on Titan, whenever the music might pick up in a certain way, but the body language of the characters does not match what is happening on screen. I loved that eeriness to it. I loved that suspense to it. And I loved that there was a certain kind of like, sense of uncanny valley, I guess, where it doesn't look quite right and it makes you feel a certain way on purpose. And when you can do that, to me, that's good horror. Like that's exactly how it should have been. So
did you get like an M. Night Shyamalan feel to it?
Especially with the creatures. Like the creatures really reminded me of The Village, and of course, the direct translation, they call them demons, but it's not like there's never been a sense of haunting. It doesn't feel like this is a haunted show. This isn't a spirit show. This is like a direct manifestation of how the Asian culture views a monster, right? And it just, the way that they did it, it made it feel really real, if that makes sense. They made it feel real, like this could be a thing. And then you start to think, it's like, well, what are they trying to correlate these monsters with in this real world? And it's us, like as people, and whenever you make that connection, it's like, oh my God, you just start looking at the show way differently. But Cami, I want to throw it to you. Spare no small detail. Give us all the tea, all of it. What were your high points of this first season?
So going back to like building suspense and like horror in anime is like really hard to do. It's hard to be scary in animation, and this show like did it without being like Attack on Titan like bloody.
Yeah, gory.
It did it without being gory. Yeah. And I was really like
Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah. So another like how it builds suspense, like with the camera angles. And so like remember when they were doing like the clock, it was like going back and forth.
Yes.
Or there will be like different camera angles, like someone's watching them, and then it's revealed like, oh yeah, there were people watching them.
Yeah.
And another, the villains. So the mom is probably one of my favorites. I think she's more scarier than Sister Krona.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, Krona was more of a direct. They did a really cool thing with those two characters, because Krona was such a tryhard. She's trying to get ahead, but little did she know that she was Mom's puppet the entire time. She was being manipulated. Mom never broke a sweat until the last episode. And just the way they treated both of those characters, kind of that direct. It was directly opposite of each other. One is very calm and composed and still kind of like, uneasy, whereas one was like full force. There's something wrong. There's no getting around it. There's no hiding it. The children all knew it, right?
Yeah.
Or at least the three main kids, Emma, Norman, and Ray. All the other younger kids didn't, whether they were playing dumb or just playing along. And that's another thing too. Like, they give more credit to the little kids, and they kind of say like, oh, these little kids have probably actually been more smarter than we've given them credit for this entire time. Yet we see them acting a certain way the entire time. So it's just another thing to kind of like think back on. It's like, man, were they just playing dumb here in this area? Like, did they suspect, the same things that the older kids were expecting? And
yeah, like Phil, I don't want to get too deep, but Phil, there's like a theory that he knew it even before Emma and Ray. And that's pretty cool to look into.
I get what you're saying though. Like, mom kind of being low key more terrifying. She has more experience, right? She has survived the longest as we can, as we learn. But please continue with your high points. I piggyback whenever I want to, because it's just how it works. But please continue.
And so with mom being the villain, I kind of view her as like I don't know, what's the word for it? Like a villain that you like you show, it's like sympathy.
Like almost kind of like an anti-hero type thing.
Yeah, like an anti-hero kind of, but like I like how the monsters are like the villains, right? And then you have a villain that you can sympathize with, and then it's like the heroes, right?
Yeah, like the lesser of two evils type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
that's like my favorite thing that they do in shows is when there's a villain that you can that you feel bad for, but then there's a monster that you don't feel anything for.
Yeah, totally. You have kind of like those two layers of discrepancy, really. You have the ultimate baddies, and then you have really, it's like you have no other choice. You have to serve this higher power, even though you may not directly want to do this thing. You are adhering to that higher power, whatever it may be, because that's just what makes the world go round, right? Capitalism at its finest. And like, I think, I mean, you bring up a really good point, because mom, in some ways at the very end, we kind of start to feel sympathy for her a little bit and see like a lot of these things that are happening really isn't her fault as much.
And then you realize too that she does have this weird like twisted love for the kids, and that's even scarier when it's revealed like she keeps all the stuffed animal, like all the toys from the kids in the basement.
Yeah, like
that freaked me out. I was like,
at the end, she's like, I've loved all these kids like they were my own kids, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of like subtlety. There's a lot of subtle details and like kind of things sprinkled in that, and this to me is what makes a good anime or just a good show in general. Like, whenever you have such a big twist at the end, and then you want to go back through and rewatch it to see, it's like, oh my God, right there and there and there, right? You're starting to pick things up. That's a great show. That's rewatchable. Like, that's rewatchable. Like, I want to take more time to rewatch this thing to see what I missed, right? That's kind of like the sign of an inherently good show, right? But at the same time, I want to see I want to see how they're going to change this and see how because to me it's like, I don't know that you can keep this vibe the same way, with the second season, unless we focus on a different group of kids. Because we do learn, later on the show, there is a few different plants, and we know that, Emma has vowed to go back to the first orphanage to save everyone. And that may be where the show's going. I don't know. But there is a certain level of suspense that is now gone, because, spoiler alert, the kids escape. They escape the orphanage, and now they're left to kind of figure it out. But yeah, I mean, that last little bit there that we get with mom and just kind of learning about her really ties the show up together really nicely and adds. Cami, I want to know if you felt this, and you too, Rex. You like mom by the end of this show.
Yeah. I like her. Yeah. I want to see her in the next soon. Like, I want to see her in the future. I want to see them come back to save the kids, and whether she'll like side with them or the monsters. Basically.
Yeah, totally.
I want to see that.
Like at the end too, when she talked to Phil, she's like, "Don't worry, they made it out." And like Phil kind of looks at her, he's like, "What?" You know what I mean? So we could see an off-screen type situation too, where she's like basically revealing the secrets to the kids, and then they have a leg up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of different things they could do.
There's so many different things. Like, I don't know where the shows is gonna go, but it's like basically what's the outside world like?
Yeah.
And I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Go ahead, Rex.
No, I was just gonna say at the end of that last episode, I was kind of hoping like that mom like escaped with the kids or something and like turned to helping them, you know. But
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like they're probably gonna kill her.
Well,
Yeah.
she can't because she has that. What does she have? Like a tracker or something, like in her chest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I thought she was
Yeah.
gonna throw herself off the cliff whenever she took her hair down, because her hair's been, in this tight.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Whenever she was on the cliff, I thought she was gonna just throw herself off. Like, oh, I
And then
failed.
she like waves to them.
Yeah,
waves.
yeah. And I think, one of the biggest things that I think was an upset, and obviously it could change over time, but Norman, as we know, it looks like Norman's probably going to be harvested.
The first loss of the show, because Connie, we didn't really know her that well.
Yeah.
So it was like, but Norman.
And Norman, yeah, I mean, and Norman was the smartest one out of all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the most frail, like the weakest, right?
Yeah, he planned it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna believe it until I see it.
Yeah, that's kind of.
I don't think he's gone because I'm not sure, but you know how like at the end they take him into another room?
Yeah.
I kind of thought that was weird because I thought that they kill him right there.
Yeah,
so
that's what I thought too.
But we don't know.
Or maybe they like have to do something because he's like the smartest, like to prepare him for it, because it was like some sort of tribute that they needed the top tier for.
Oh, or you think they're saving him
for Tifari?
Yeah, they were gonna feed him to like the top monster guy or whatever, but because I remember them saying something about feeding. I think they called it the one or something, or
the one.
Yeah. So who knows what they have to do with him?
I was thinking that he was gonna be like a scientist or something. Like they were gonna, because you know how you saw those older guys. Like obviously they keep guys too for something.
Or maybe
that's the thing.
Maybe they turn the smarter ones into the monsters or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, you think they're humans?
Maybe.
There's so many routes like they could go with this show.
And that's what's so beautiful is they haven't directly come out and said this is what it is yet, and I think that there's still there's such a big world out there and there's so much story to still tell. I think we can all collectively agree that Norman's not dead. If they really wanted to kill Norman, they would have killed him on screen, in front of us. So, another thing of showing us, they did show us intentionally something was weird with that interchange. So that was our hint that, hey, maybe Norman's not dead, but still, yeah. I mean, I think that I hope that there's more tricks up their sleeve and there's more twists, as the show progresses. So we kind of talked about our high points. Do we want to spend a couple minutes and talk about some things maybe we weren't crazy about or we weren't, didn't love? Rex, do you want to kick us off?
I'm not sure I have anything other than a few of the like aha moments, like finding out that Ray was a double agent, weren't as big because right away you find out that it's not a big deal at all, and he's actually just going to use that to their advantage and stuff like that.
Yeah. Fake, like almost kind of like fake hype a little bit. Like, oh my God, what? He's a bad guy? No, he's not. He never was. He's never going.
There was a little bit of fake hype in it like that. Other than that, I don't know. I don't have that many negatives. It felt good. Like I feel like every episode gave you like some information and progressed the story of how they were going to escape. It didn't feel too fillery for me. Like you said, there's not always a lot going on because it's mainly just one thing is they're trying to escape. Yeah. So, that's pretty much it for me.
Okay. Right on. What about you, Cami? Any low points for you? Things you weren't necessarily like crazy about?
I don't think I really had any low points. I think maybe I'm biased because it's like all my favorite genres, but I really liked it. I think my favorite moments were like going back into the past, like with the history.
Yeah, like they do a good job, with the flashbacks and stuff like that. But if you guys don't have anything really a ton negatively to say, then I guess I can go if you want me to.
Go for it.
So here's the thing. I love anime, but I don't love it as much as you guys do because it's not my main form of consumption in terms of like storytelling, right? And Cami, you seem like you're really well versed with anime. Like I'm the type of person where whenever you ask someone, "Oh, do you like anime?" and I'm like, "Oh, I love it." I do love it, but I love like the 4 or 5 shows that I like. And I don't really experiment or branch out as much. But shows like this really make me want to take a gander, So I have like 20 anime in my queue, right, where I can start watching it. I think the thing that holds anime back from being more consumable to your average audience is kind of the thing of that anime tries to do what normal shows do. Like whenever there's a slow moment, because there is animation, I think to the normal person, they might stop and think to themselves, like, this is a cartoon. Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And I think without realizing it gets taken less seriously because of the animation. It doesn't really break through the mold in a lot of ways. I think people would much rather just watch a kid's show because they equate cartoons to kind of being all the same. So I do think that there are some slow moments in this show that do build tension and give us background. And it is, as a manga fan, it is one of those things. It totally makes sense that this was a manga first. And, because those points would have hit really hard in those moments, just the subtle expression where there isn't a lot going on. I can't imagine seeing mom on a page and, just like those cold, dead eyes looking at you while you're reading it, just kind of hits different. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I think there are some slow moments in this show that your average watcher of anime or just your average TV watcher probably wouldn't stick around for as much. Or be as into. Like I was playing chess and like playing pool and stuff through a few episodes and didn't really feel like I missed a ton. So there are episodes that feels like you could have made it maybe 1 episode or 2 episodes less in some ways and figured out some ways to kind of cut corners and add some more stuff in. But that's borderline nitpicky. I think the performances are all really good. I think there's some performances that I really liked more than I liked for others. All 3 characters felt really relatable. And if you like, Naruto and you like, Dragon Ball and stuff like that, I think you're going to be able to kind of see, oh, this is our Goku character, and I think that's arguably probably Emma, which is funny because it's a girl. Emma's our Goku character and, like Norman is our Vegeta character or not Norman, Ray is our Vegeta character. And it makes sense that Norman would be out of the picture and that we would kind of have those two being at the forefront of the show moving forward. You have your darker character who kind of has like a dark side and your triumphant character, that's kind of leading the charge and taking the lead, but it's in such a more grounded way. Never do I ever feel like either of these characters are like overpowered or anything like that. At any point, it feels like they could die.
Yeah.
Which adds a real weight to the show. So I guess, that's kind of me summing up my high points and low points into one thing, but there wasn't anything where I was kind of like, this doesn't make sense. They are trained kids from birth, basically, to be the best food possible, and to make them be the best food possible, they got to be really smart. So it would make sense. My favorite part is the last few moments of the show where we do realize that, mom is in fact, was basically kind of taken in as a kid because she's like basically the test subject that has survived the longest, and she has now become a mom on plant 3 or whatever they call it. And you come to realize that she did give birth to one of her, to a kid. And she never got to see it. It got shipped off to one of the plants. So then whenever she got to be sent to plant 3, she came to realize that, in fact, Ray was her actual kid because of a tune that she had hummed. There was someone that she was friends with whenever she was at the plant. this tune that he would play. He got shipped off, you know, and she never saw him again, but she was humming that tune while she was pregnant. And then somehow, you know, Ray, being super smart in the womb, picked up that tune, and you hear him humming it. And just to see that emotion on her face at the end, where she realizes, like, this is a horrible thing that I'm having to do. And he asks her the question. He says, "Mom, why did you give birth to me?" And I think she says something along the lines of, you know, to survive. Like, I've survived the longest. So in order to survive, I had to give birth to you. But it just adds a whole other meaning to the show whenever you realize why Ray has been helping her the entire time. It's because he is actually her kid. But he even realizes that what's going on is wrong. So it just kind of adds like a whole other aspect to the show. It really makes you want to like pay closer attention as you know, whenever you do rewatch it or even moving forward. So that's kind of like my final thoughts. You guys have anything to add to that?
Yeah, that moment kind of hits you pretty hard, huh?
Yeah, I mean, especially like with the music and just the way they did it, and you know, going back to what we said before, like it's not really her fault. Just a product of the environment, you know, and
I think that's why she doesn't feel super villainous at the end, you know. It's not her fault. She's just kind of making the best of what she has available.
I mean, whatever it takes to stay alive, you know.
Yeah.
Basic human instinct.
The only thing I wanted to add is like, I just feel like this anime is not your typical anime. And I kind of like that about it. And it's not your like stereotypical, like just regular anime where it's like way over the top and out there. The only thing that's, you know, makes it an anime is the animation and, you know, that it's like from Japan. But other than that, it's totally unique. And that's what I really liked about it. Because there are animes that just follow a simple flow chart, I guess to say. And those animes can get tiresome for me.
Especially shonen, really, like the same formulaic good,
it's like
good guy archetype, bad guy archetype. Now they're going to be friends somehow, but still have to balance that yin and yang, you know.
Right. When they're trying to be the next big shonen, like I feel like they follow the same plot a lot of times. And for me, that just doesn't really keep my interest. And what I like about anime is that they create these like crazy far out worlds, and they're able to portray them so much better than a live action would, because they're so out there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the best things about anime. And so when you're able to have a show like this and kind of envelop its own world and its characters and make it feel real, I think it's pretty special for this anime. So I really liked it.
That's well said. Did you have anything to add to that, Cami?
I like the cutesy anime style. Like, you know how it's like everything's really like chibi and cute, and then all of a sudden like the monsters come out. I think it works well for it, like the show.
Yeah, totally. It definitely has its own thing going on, you know, and I love that we get a sense of clarity to where we think we know what's going on, but in actuality, we probably have no idea. And you know, the creators of the show are probably hearing fan theories and being like, "Oh, so you think that's where it's going, huh?" You know, and I love stuff like that.
Do you have any theories, Gabe?
I'm not 100% convinced that there isn't like a simulation aspect somehow. You know, like I don't know, like I'm not totally convinced that that's not going to be out of the realm of possibility. I also think that, you know, the perception of the real world, I don't think it's actually the real world. I think it is a facility, like almost like a Hunger Games type facility, like where there's this just giant arena, you know, and like they're basically just kind of seeing what's going to happen. And there's actually more than meets the eye past that. You know, because I started the first episode of the second season and, you know, kind of saw some stuff, and I was like, man, this doesn't seem like a world that makes sense, you know, and like, I don't know. It will be interesting to see. I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility of them keeping this facility on another planet or something. You know, there's just a lot of possibilities, but it'll be interesting to see kind of what clarity we get as we move forward. But what about you guys? Do you have any theories?
I watched
ahead,
the
Cam.
first episode of season 2, so I don't want to give anything away, but I was hoping that it would go somewhere I wasn't expecting. And I think it delivered for me on the first episode, at
Okay.
least.
Well, we have something to look
Of
forward
what?
to.
Yeah, I'm excited.
What about
I
you,
was kind of
Rex?
thinking, I felt like I thought a little bit about, I don't know if you've read Red Rising, but it's kind of like there's basically a society of people that are kept down, like at the bottom, and maybe outside that there's a regular society that coexists with these monsters, but then they have these farms and, people, maybe they don't know about them, or maybe they do know about them, but it's just a necessity for them to coexist with these monsters. So that was kind of my thought. Like maybe it's something like that. Otherwise, I have no real idea of like what's going on.
Which I love. I'm kind of in the same way. I mean, I think for me, it always irritates Emma because I'm always like, oh, this is gonna happen, and I'll be like, oh, this and this is gonna happen, and then when it does, 9 times out of 10 or whatever, she's like, what the heck? Like, how'd you know? And I'm like, because I just asked myself the question, like, what would be the craziest thing to do in this situation? What makes sense, and how would I do it? Like, and those 7, 8 out of 9, 10, 7 or 8 times out of 10, you know what I mean, that I get it right. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I feel like I saw that coming. You know what I mean? But with this show, there's not a lot of foreshadowing. And that's really the biggest trick is foreshadowing, in my opinion. If you can find it and identify that, 90% of your stories give away what's going to happen much earlier in the story. But
Right.
there's not really any of that here. It's all kind of, and if it is foreshadowing, it's hidden really well. So I genuinely have no idea, where this thing is going. So I'm excited. I'm excited for us to tackle it, you guys. Cami, you're like, we call Ryan Dalton, one of our other co-hosts. He's like a sniper. I feel like that's what you are for the Midnight Run. You're like a sniper, and me and Rex is kind of like a throwing knife, because he's just kind of quiet, but will kill you at the same time. I'm just a machine gun all over the place, and you can be our sniper for this project.
Why do we have to be weapons?
Because, man, I don't make the rules. It's just you have to live to survive.
All right.
So there's that. You have to live to survive. That doesn't make any sense. So let's score this first season out of 10. Rex, let's start with you.
I haven't really thought too much about the scoring, but I'm gonna give it an 8.5 for me. And the only reason I would take off a little bit of points is because it's a little short. But no, I'm gonna give it a 9. Let's do a 9. I'm gonna take off a point for being a little short. There's not much foreshadowing. You don't really know what's gonna happen. But everything else I loved. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Not too many negatives for me.
Well done.
One of my favorite recent animes for sure.
Well, there you have it. And not too gory, like there isn't a lot of blood, which I love. So that's great.
Yeah.
Cami, what do you think?
I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
Whoa!
I don't know if maybe I'm biased because I don't get a lot of this type of genres in many shows. So that's one of the reasons that I really like it. But also I'm a fan of short seasons, and I think it works well as its own season. Like it could stop there, like the story, and I'd be fine.
Same.
But I'm really excited to see more. But it worked really well for like just by itself, one season.
Well said. That's a great summation. I think I'm gonna have to go with Rex on this one and give it a 9. I think that it is one of those things. There's not a lot of difference between a 9 and a 10 for me, really. I think 10 is just it encapsulated my attention the entire time. There were very little things that I didn't like about it, and it's nearly perfect. I can't say that that's the case here. I think it did a great job, an amazing job of doing what it's trying to do. There were episodes where it did not fully encapsulate my attention. It was kind of slow. But I feel like it does take the show down just a little bit, but not much. I mean, if I believed in decimals, I'll allow decimals on the show, but for me personally, I'm just making a rule, no decimals. Yeah, 9 out of 10, and it's really closer. In a way, I feel like in a lot of ways it's closer to being a 10 than it is a 9, if that makes any sense. But I'm not going to give it a 9.5. So we're going 9 out of 10 for me. So there you have it. You have a 9, a 10, and a 9. So the wannabes have spoken, ladies and gentlemen. You need to watch Promised Neverland if you're a fan of anime, or if you're a fan of a good thriller in general. If you can make it past the first episode and you're not hooked, then you probably don't like a good story. At the end of the day,
you probably shouldn't watch the show.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't if you can't, if you watch the first episode and you're like, yeah, this is stupid. I mean, you did just hear us spoil the entire thing, so I understand that too. But if you want to see it happen on screen, it's way better than hearing us talk about it. So there's that. But that's another episode of the Midnight Run, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Rex and Cami for coming on. You can look for future episodes. I'm excited to talk about the Promised Neverland as it continues to come out. We're gonna tackle 3 or 4 episodes at a time and kind of talk about where we think the show is going and just go from there. So there you have it. Rex, Cami, where can people find you? Rex, you go first. We don't need talking over each other. You know what I mean?
Find me on Twitter, Rex90, WRECKS 90, and I think I follow Cameron too, maybe. So you might be able to find her there too.
I need to follow Cami on Twitter. So there you go. Cami, where can people find you?
You can't find me. Just kidding. I think I'm like CamJam55 on Twitter.
CamJam55. Okay, that's solid Twitter name. I mean, look at you go. You're making it rhyme. You're making it happen. I want to thank you.
Might have to get Selena on this. She likes the show too.
Well, if she wants to, she's obviously more than welcome. So there you go. If she wants to join. It is awesome, that we're able to kind of tackle these animated series and like kind of be able to give our thoughts and kind of see the deeper meanings and stuff. And, hopefully if you guys found anything else that you wanted to contribute to the show at any point in time, you can follow us on Twitter. You can email us. We have a website, wannabecritic.com. You can get in touch with us there. There's just a lot of ways to get in touch with us and talk about the show. So let us know how we're doing. We would definitely appreciate it. If you're an audio listener, we would really appreciate it if you would give an honest review. You know what I mean? People say like, oh, give us 5 stars. Yeah. Don't do that unless you actually think we're worth 5 stars. Okay. Just say something. I would rather you give us half a star and be honest than give us 5 stars just because we asked you to. There's just not a lot of integrity, when people just ask for 5 stars every time. Because what if they don't mean it? You know what I mean? It means more than you could realize, even to just take time and say what you think of the show. So there you go. Also, Rex and Cami, I hope you guys don't mind. I was going to throw this up on YouTube. So you'll be able to find it there in a few, in the next however long.
Yeah. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell.
Just hit the bell. You'll be notified every single time I upload or that we upload. You can, it's a wide variety of things.
To say, right?
I think so. I'm still trying to figure it out. I hate saying it, but you're
me too. I was just kidding.
Yeah, I actually, it's hard. YouTubing's hard, but that's part of it. You got to ask them, you got to remind them to subscribe, and you got to remind them to hit the bell. So, well, that is going to wrap it up for us here at the Wannabe Critic podcast / the Midnight Run. Technically, we will see you guys next time. Say goodbye.
Later.
Bye.
Whatever possessed you to check out the podcast or the YouTube channel today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If this is your first time here, I would appreciate it, if you would consider subscribing. As you can tell, it's not just me here anymore. I mean, I do stuff by myself, but the podcast is going to reside here from now on, in video form. So if you want to see more content, if you want to be notified, every time we post something, whether it be a clip, a podcast, a review, an interview, whatever it may be, if it's gaming stuff, make sure you click that bell and hit the subscribe button, and we will see you next time. Thanks for sticking around, and thank you for preparing yourselves for a plethora of hot takes and potentially unpopular opinions. I'm Gabriel Fast. I will always be the Wannabe Critic.